maximum amount of money from the stock market. Some old fucking hag is doing better and not in jail yet. That shit's crazy. That's just crazy to me, but cool story, bro. We'll keep fighting one another. We'll keep talking shit, you know, back and forth. We'll keep saying things. We'll keep it cool, because you're allowed on the airways to say Democrats are dumb as shit. Republicans are dumb as shit. Look at these cuck service. Look at these liberal morons. Look at these degenerates. Women, this. Men, that. The moment you start to, you know, peer behind the veil and be like, hey, bro, I can connect the dots here, here, and here. That's fucked up. You're taking people's rights away. You just took money from that foreign corporation. Those special interest groups are against me, and you're accepting them. You just, oh my God, they just donated to your campaign trail. You're okay with that? It's America first, right? You tell me, make America great again. Where the fuck's all this money coming from for your campaign? You can't even ask those questions. Hey, how'd the budget increase for the Pentagon? I thought this was a conservative government. We have a debt bomb that we're spiraling towards. Aren't we supposed to make government smaller? And the moment you start talking like this, bro, they're in the comment section. I can't tell if they're bots or legitimately brainwash people. Immediately, if you even criticize one side, they're going to be like, why don't you go back to the other side? Why don't you stay in your lane? Bro, don't talk about this. Oh my God, you're just a fucking hater. You must love Kamala. You're a fucking Trump lover. Blah, 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 blah. So, good job, bro. You're exactly what they want you to be. And that's why you will end up with nothing, and you will be happy. You will own nothing, and you will be happy.
I'm not talking about your guns. You've got your guns, but if they were scared of your guns at all, they wouldn't let you have them. Stop talking about your useless guns. Giving you guns is like giving a baby a hammer and nails and expecting him to build a house with it.
Hello.
You won't do anything with those weapons except point them at whoever they program you to point them at.
Damn.
If they thought for a second that you might actually point those guns in the right direction, well, they take them from you so fast it'd make your head spin. No, you've been disarmed mentally. You've been disarmed intellectually. You've been disarmed psychologically, emotionally, and culturally. See, you have a top-down culture in America, you understand? Not an organic from the ground up culture. Your culture is controlled from the top down. Think about that. Stop and reflect on that. Everything that represents cultural expression is a business. It's branded. It's a commodity. It's created, it's crafted, it's molded, it's marketed, and sold by corporations. Your feudal lords, your aristocracy, your oligarchs, the shareholding class dictates to you what your culture is. The rich write your songs, the rich tell you stories in films and television, the rich publish your books, the rich design your fashions, the rich decide what the news will be, what will be reported and what won't be reported, the rich decide what your opinions will be, they even decide what dissent will be. You understand? Yes, even dissent is prepackaged for you. There's an official and accepted pro-position and an official and accepted anti-position. Every aspect of your culture is micromanaged by billionaires. And understand, this top-down cultural dictation is itself a natural development. That is organic in its own way, because Western culture has always been feudalism. But the extent of control is what has evolved. That's what's changed. The fundamental culture was always there. It was always the same. What has grown and developed is the amount of control, the intensity and the comprehensiveness of the domination and of the pacification of the population. One of the greatest tricks of modern power is that it manufactured its own opposition. You're literally told what the dissenting opinion is or is supposed to be. You're given two sides to choose from, but both sides ultimately serve the same system. That's why elections change nothing. Why political debates are just theater. Why every controversy is just another episode in an endless scripted spectacle. People believe that they're engaging in resistance, when in reality, they're simply playing their assigned roles in a pre-approved narrative. The system does not suppress opposition, it creates opposition and controls opposition and ensures that that opposition will remain harmless. The range of acceptable thought in the society is narrow by design, obviously. You can question war, for example, but only within the given framework that's provided for you. You can critique capitalism, but only in ways that don't actually challenge corporate control, you know, with an anti-capitalist t-shirt or something that you buy on brand. You can be outraged by corruption, but only if you focus on a few bad apples while leaving the structure intact. But if you step outside of the boundaries of this acceptable discourse, this discourse that is mandated by billionaires, you'll be ignored, or you'll be maligned, or you'll be dismissed, or algorithmically exiled. Now, I'm saying all of this because, you know, people constantly ask, what are we supposed to do? What can we do? What do you suggest? What can we do about injustice? What can we do about corruption? What can we do about all the suffering and the violation of our rights and so forth? And every time the expectation is the same. They want some simple, immediate answer. because that's their programming. They want some kind of an action that they can take right now. But this approach is fundamentally flawed because it treats only the symptoms rather than addressing the underlying disease. But the truth is, the crisis is not just one of injustice, it's a crisis of culture. The problem isn't simply oppression, it's a deeply entrenched control system that has shaped the entire psyche of society. Injustice, corruption, oppression, and what have you, they don't exist in a vacuum. They're manifestations of a broken cultural foundation. Yet instead of recognizing this, people want quick fixes, temporary relief instead of real solutions. It's like a man who's suffering from chronic pain. You know, his body is breaking down because his own lifestyle is destroying him. But rather than trying to adopt healthier habits, changing his diet and so forth, trying to put some effort into actually healing, he just wants something that will numb the pain. Not something that will actually fix the problem, fix his actual health. And after time, he'll just become more and more dependent on stronger and stronger painkillers until he can't even function without them, while the underlying illness continues to just get worse. This is the state of modern society in the West, in America. People don't really want justice, they want relief. They don't seek truth, they seek comfort. They don't desire real change, they want convenience. And as a result, they remain in a cycle. Protests, elections, social media outrage, repeating the same pattern over and over and over, expecting different results, but nothing changes because they're treating the symptoms, not the cause. Like I said, culture creates art and art creates culture. So look at the art that your culture creates and look at the culture that your art is creating. Art has been commercialized. Art is commercialized. Music is sterilized. Culture has been pacified. You know, where are the cultural and artistic voices that shape the system? They don't exist in any meaningful way in America. They've been bought or they've been co-opted. Instead of challenging the status quo, artists are, performing at elite galas. Instead of inspiring some sort of revolutionary movement, they're selling products. They don't question power, they serve power. That's why there'll never be a revolution in America. This is why even the smallest acts of resistance in modern America seem hollow, feel hollow, are hollow. Because they give the illusion of activism without requiring any sacrifice or effort. Opposition is fashion. Activism has been turned into a product. It's a social currency, a momentary trend. And then when it fades, it's replaced by whatever the next cause will be that will capture the public's fleeting attention. The entire society has been engineered for distraction. Entertainment is relentless. Everything is gamified. Everything is turned into a spectacle. Everything is designed to keep people from ever pausing to reflect, pausing to think and to question. And like I said, even if they had a moment to pause, they don't even have the intellectual, psychological, artistic, or cultural language to even articulate their thoughts. You only have the words that the power structure gives you for understanding what they're doing to you. In this environment, how can there ever be a revolution? How's that even possible? If you're people who are addicted to instant gratification, how can they sustain long-term struggle? A society that's conditioned to seek pleasure above all else, comfort above all else. You never choose hardship, even if that hardship is necessary for justice. The population has been trained not to endure, but to escape. I said you've been trained to escape, not to endure. You've been trained, you've been programmed to be serfs. That's what you were and that's what you are, serfs and slaves. Only now, escape doesn't actually mean escaping the plantation or the manor or the tenant land. It means just forgetting where you are and what you are. Escape means distraction. It means not even knowing the words to understand that you are a serf or a slave. It means that the songs you sing, the stories you tell, and even the dissent or the opposition that you express are all actually just methods of reinforcing your subject status. And in America, even the dream of liberation isn't really about liberation. The culture and the system created by the culture and the art created by the culture have made the dream not about liberation from oppression, but a dream about becoming the oppressor. That's the American dream. It's a cruel society, it's a cruel system, because it's a cruel culture. So like I say, you want short-term symptom treatment, not long-term cure of the disease, because the only kind of revolution that you really need in America is a cultural revolution. America doesn't need cosmetic surgery, it needs brain surgery, it needs heart surgery. You don't need a pacemaker, you need a transplant. And unless and until you actually change your culture, the only way that you'll change your system is by changing it to become worse.
Shit. This guy says, your society is engineered for distraction. Probably the hardest hitting line I heard. Fuck. I believe that Luigi Mangione created the massive cultural impact he did because for a brief moment he snapped many Americans out of their fatigue they've been trapped in. Oh, fugue. He committed an act so outrageous that it forced regular people to reconsider their relationship with a system of oppression that are viewed as being normal. And it showed that ordinary individuals can disrupt those systems. Yeah, but as quick as he came, he disappeared in the public consciousness. That's the problem. The fact that this was recommended to me by a multi-billion-dollar company's algorithm just goes to show you how absolutely unafraid they are of our resistance. Yeah. Wow, this one's intriguing here. Quite interesting. I live in the U.S. and have been tattooing for 3 decades now. And when I started, people would tell me what they wanted and have me draw the custom design. So the tattoos used to have meaning. Now, more than ever, people send me a picture of a tattoo someone else has that they saw on social media and say, I want this, even though in most cases it doesn't in any way reflect their personality. Nowadays, most people think that a custom tattoo is getting the exact same thing as someone else, but maybe getting some element of the tattoo done in a different color. Wow. Damn, I gotta process this video. Probably watch it again on my own time, too. What does that say for the future of America, then? So we're becoming more and more dependent on the state as more and more jobs get outsourced or just completely disappear because of AI. Unreal. Sheesh. We'll see you on the next one, boys. Take care of yourselves.
2 Chinese nationals have been charged over potential agro-terrorism. They were trying to smuggle in some kind of fungus that can destroy our grain crops. It's not the first time we've got a story like this. Several years ago, in fact, numerous times, Chinese nationals were trying to smuggle in viruses or smuggle out our medical research, including cancer cells. Now, I had a conversation recently with a lid who told me that Russia is our greatest adversary. Now, I think Russia is certainly an adversary of the United States. We're not friends. Maybe we could be, I don't know, but we're not. However, the stories that we get typically are not Russians smuggling things out of this country. We have allowed Chinese security threats loyal to the Communist Party. I'm not even talking about like a regular Chinese person. These are people known to be loyal to the Chinese Communist Party. They're allowed in this country. And over the past 30 years, we've given away our manufacturing base and been ripped to shreds by these unfair practices that China, largely the Chinese Communist Party, has engaged in. Donald Trump is calling it out. Now we have the story from ABC News. 2 Chinese nationals charged with smuggling potential agro-terrorism fungus into the U.S., says the DOJ. 2 Chinese nationals have been charged with allegedly smuggling into the U.S. a fungus called Fusarium graminearum, which scientific literature classifies as a potential agro-terror weapon, the DOJ said Tuesday. It's crazy. I don't even know if this is a petri dish. Is that what that is? Yongqing Jian, 33, and Zunyong Liu, 34, citizens of the People's Republic of China were allegedly receiving Chinese government funding for their research, some of it at the University of Michigan. The complaint also alleges that Jian's electronics contain information describing her membership in and loyalty to the Chinese Communist Party, a DOJ press release said. It's also known, my friends, that there are individuals in the United States working for our university system that secretly receive money from China to smuggle out our research to them illegally, illicitly. It's creepy stuff. Quote, it is further alleged that Jian's boyfriend Liu works at a Chinese university where he conducts research on the same pathogen, and that he first lied and then admitted to smuggling Fusarium graminearum into America through the Detroit Metropolitan Airport so that he could conduct research on it at the laboratory at the University of Michigan, where his girlfriend Jian worked, according to the press release. I'm going to go and say I don't believe it. I don't believe this is simply a case of some dudes being like, we just wanted to do research. I think, you know what, it doesn't matter what I think. We have to err on the side of this was intended to destroy crops and cause economic damage to the United States. With Donald Trump's trade war, or what I'm going to call it, tariffs, China's playing hardball. They know that if Trump launches heavy tariffs and maintains them, their manufacturing is going to shutter. They rely on us, but they're pulling from us our labor market. They're extracting from us. So how about they destroy our food crops, a large portion of the exports of our country, what little we do have. Indeed. I don't know for sure, but I don't think it matters. The U.S. government must operate under the pretense that this is an attack, or was intended to be a malicious Attorney General Pam Bondi said in a statement, the DOJ has no higher mission than keeping the American people safe and protecting our nation from hostile foreign actors who would do us harm. Thanks to the hard work of our excellent DOJ attorneys, this defendant, who clandestinely attempted to bring a destructive substance into the U.S., will face years behind bars, the Attorney General said. The FBI says it causes red blight, a disease of wheat, barley, maize, and rice, and is responsible for billions of dollars in economic losses worldwide each year. The alleged actions of the Chinese nationals, including a loyal member of the CCP, are of the gravest national security concerns. These two aliens have been charged with smuggling a fungus that has been described as a potential agro-terror weapon into the heartland of America, where they apparently intended to use a University of Michigan laboratory to further their scheme, said U.S. Attorney Jerome Gorgon. Today's criminal charges levied upon Young King John and Xinyoung Liu are indicative of CBP's critical role in protecting the American people from biological threats that could devastate our agricultural economy and cause harm to humans, especially when it involves a researcher from a major university attempting to clandestinely bring potentially harmful biological materials into the U.S. U.S. CBP Director Marty C. Rayborn said, "Now I'll tell you why. This is an attack. I think this was terror. Why? If you're working for a university and doing research, you're not smuggling anything in. There's no way you are. This is like if you're planning a legitimate research project, they know about it. What kind of research are you going to be doing clandestinely with this fungus? So much so that you had to sneak it into the country. Are they going to have a lab set up to contain this particular strain of fungus? Is there going to be an allotment of funding and tools for this fungus, all while the university has no idea you have it? Probably not. In which case, under the guise of being a researcher, they were trying to smuggle in these funguses. They said John was scheduled to appear Tuesday afternoon in federal court in Detroit for her initial appearance on the complaint, the DOJ said. The affidavit alleges that John and Lou were dating and also researching the biological pathogen, and when questioned about smuggling the pathogen into the U.S., lied to authorities at the Detroit airport. Interesting. On July 27th, 24, Lou entered the United States and told authorities he was visiting his girlfriend and then returning to China to start his own laboratory in China. He allegedly said that he had no work materials, but upon a secondary screening of his luggage, authorities found tissues concealed a note. Found tissues concealed a note in Chinese. Interesting. A round piece of filter paper with a series of circles drawn on it, and 4 clear plastic baggies with small clumps of reddish plant material inside. He told authorities he didn't know how the materials ended up in his bag, and suggested someone placed them there without his knowledge, officials said. But after further questioning, he admitted to placing them in the bag. He wasn't arrested at the time. Liu stated that he intentionally hid the samples in his backpack because he knew there were restrictions on the importation of the materials. Liu confirmed that he intentionally put the samples in a wad of tissues so CBP officers would be less likely to find and confiscate them, and he would continue his research in the United States. The University of Michigan put out a statement late Tuesday afternoon. "We strongly condemn any actions that seek to cause harm, threaten national security, or undermine the university's critical public mission," the school statement said. It is important to note that the university has received no funding from the Chinese government in relation to research conducted by the accused individuals. We have and will continue to cooperate with federal law enforcement in its ongoing investigation and prosecution. Yes, but how many Americans are in on the take? How many Americans are secretly getting paid by China to do research like this, and they claim on the books they're not actually getting paid? Take a look at these stories. From Yahoo News. Suspected SARS virus and flu samples found in luggage. FBI report describes China's biosecurity risk. Really? March 30th, 2020. In late November of 2018, just over a year before the first coronavirus case identified in Wuhan, U.S. CBP agents at Detroit, once again the same airport, stopped a Chinese biologist with 3 vials labeled antibodies. They were smuggling viruses: MERS, Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, and SARS. And they got caught. Here's another story from the New York Times. Stolen research. Chinese scientist is accused of smuggling lab samples. Let me explain, y'all. They like to come out and say that Russia's our greatest adversary. And maybe because of that view, we don't let Russians do these things. But the idea that China is able to get away with this, that this is, that they have the, what is it called, the 1,000 Talents? Let me see if I can pull this up. It might have been the 1,000 Talents Plan. Take a look at this. Here we go, from Wikipedia. The 1,000 Talents Plan, or Overseas High-Level Talent Recruitment Program, is a program by the CCP to recruit experts in science and technology from abroad, principally but not exclusively from overseas Chinese communities. Let me show you this. There was a professor took money from China, arrested, and I think more than one, to be completely honest. Harvard University, what is this? 2020. I'm not even going to read it. I'm just going to pull it up and see what it says. Harvard University professor and 2 Chinese nationals charged in 3 separate China-related cases. Dr. Charles Lieber, 60, chair of the Department of Chemistry and Chemical Biology at Harvard University, was arrested this morning and charged by criminal complaint with 1 count of making materially false, fictitious, and fraudulent statements. He will appear this afternoon before Magistrate Judge Marion B. Bowler in federal court. And so as they put in documents, he had, take a look at this. He's received more than $15 million in grant funding from the NIH and Department of Defense. These grants require the disclosure of significant foreign financial conflicts of interest, including financial support from foreign governments or foreign entities. Unbeknownst to Harvard University, beginning in 2011, Lieber became a strategic scientist at Wuhan University in China and was a contractual participant in China's 1,000 Talents Plan from about 2012 to 2017. China's 1,000 Talents Plan is one of the most prominent Chinese talent recruit plans that are designed to attract, recruit, and cultivate high-level scientific talent in furtherance of China's scientific development, economic prosperity, and national security. So I'll say it again. These kind of attacks have been ongoing for some time. China's not likely to stop just because we caught 2 of these people. And I believe it's incredibly likely that the attempt to smuggle in this fungus was an attack on the United States. Damage our economy, damage our agriculture. It is not about, this people don't understand this. They think war is a bomb goes off somewhere. What is the purpose of a bomb, a shooting, or otherwise? To damage a system, right? So if they're attacking civilians, they want you to know they are. Typically, when it comes to warfare and you're engaging in overt kinetic conflict, you are saying, I want to make sure that people know we're doing this. But much of warfare is about cutting off water supply, destroying roads, and sometimes it's not about making sure they know. Right now, we are in cold conflict with China and Russia and many other nations. It tends to be the case that there's always conflict going on in some capacity. We are competing with each other, though we may not be at war directly in terms of bullets flying. China wants to supplant the U.S. global economy. They want to be the unipolar global, they want to be unipolar power. So how do you do it? You don't go bomb ships. You don't go to war. You don't fight a land war or a naval war. China is likely trying to stagnate and damage our economy, limiting our growth and ability to maintain a system of governance. Then we collapse and they take over. So you can do that in many ways. Psychological manipulation, like TikTok for instance, spam blasting people with videos to make them go insane. People then hyper-focus on the only thing they see. It's exactly what we saw with BLM and Facebook. Another thing you do, jam up their economy. With a fungus like this, you could cause massive damage to our agricultural system, which is a large, if not one of the largest exports that we do have. So our economy slows down, our growth stagnates, we're not having kids, the economy falters, and the U.S. drops from the top position and China takes over. I guarantee you, China is attacking this country. We know for a fact they are cyber attacking us every single day. We know about numerous instances where they're stealing our intellectual property, where they are smuggling viruses into the country. And there's questions about COVID, what COVID did to the global economy. So with a story like this, I think it's plain to see. China is not a friend of this nation. They are our principal adversary. Sure, Russia's bad. But come on. I'm going to leave it there. Smash the like button. Share the show with everyone you know. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. And my friends, make sure to join our Discord server at timcast.com. If you made it this far, you must really care. And I do appreciate and respect you guys for having watched the full video. So check out timcast.com. Click join us. Get in that Discord server where tens of thousands of people are hanging out. And you can join up. Have conversations. If you're trying to figure out how to get started, if you're sitting there saying, I don't know where to begin to make this change, this community can help you. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all in the next segment.
Well, if you've been watching my coverage of the Carmelo Anthony case, can you speak? Sorry. You know that I have predicted this for some time, and it looks like they are very likely to delay the Carmelo Anthony trial. Why would they do this? Because they want everyone to forget the details. Now, they didn't delay any of these other trials. You know, had the races been reversed, the trial would have already probably been completed. But I want to give you an idea of, first of all, where the trial stands, the possibility of its delay, as well as some vile people from Carmelo's camp starting a petition to arrest Austin Metcalf's brother. That's right. Things are getting ugly. If you appreciate my coverage of this, when no one else is really staying on top of it, please do leave a like on the video, and if you haven't yet, subscribe or follow down below so you don't miss any of the updates. Huge shout out, by the way, everyone who picked up my coffee gift box last month. There was one pallet left at Amazon that they took forever to check in. They finally checked it in. I marked it down to below for 1 second so you can't buy the. I do want to give you a timeline of where we have the Carmelo Anthony trial. This is via general justice law. Carmelo Anthony case, where things stand. As of May 31st, there has been no indictment. There are grand jury proceedings that are expected late this month, which that would lead to the indictment. Where at this indictment, they're going to decide if they're going to charge him with first degree, which carries a much heavier sentence, or they give him yet another break, like he's been given in every single aspect of this case. There's no trial date set, and there is now a possible trial delay of 1 to 3 years due to complexity and media attention. There's really nothing complex about this. There's really nothing complex about this. This is a cut and dry case. They are delaying it willfully because they don't want the media to cover it. They want the media to move on to, hey, wouldn't it be curious if they were doing this during an election year, to rile up that Democrat base? I don't think this delay is organic. What's next is, was it self-defense? Well, obviously we know it wasn't self-defense. Was the weapon brought intentionally? Yes, we do know it was. I mean, it wasn't like he had a knife in his backpack by accident. And can a fair trial be held given the media coverage? Well, I don't think that anyone cared about Daniel Penny. They tried that right away. This is ridiculous. Like I said from Jump Street, Carmelo Anthony has been given the easy way out every step of the way. First of all, he was allowed bond at all. Second of all, that bond was reduced from $1 million to $250,000. So he could sit at home and play NCAA and video games while this other kid is no longer alive. He was also allowed to graduate when rules of that school specifically state that he should have been expelled. So every step of the way he's been given a break. I have no doubt that it will continue to do so. Now we see this from Mike Beggs. He writes at blksignal.com, which is, I'm assuming, some sort of race scripting website. Charge Hunter Metcalf. Now that's Austin Metcalf. The young man whose brother passed away in his arms. They want him charged with a felony for his role in the passing of his own brother. You might think, wow, this is obviously a troll. Well, no, the petition is real and hundreds of people have signed it. You see people here, people like you are the reason for black fatigue, allergic to accountability, you know, a petition, Lamau, you know, I mean, again, this guy is, let's take a look at his website. I imagine it is a garbage tier, allergic to accountability website. Well, I don't know. Seems to cover, yeah, black news, apparently. You know, I guess, why was a fertility clinic helping black parents targeted? So, of course, the FBI wants to, this kid had nothing about, okay, so this guy is just a race hustler, all right? He also writes, Texas says stand your ground, so you protect yourself, open carry. I actually agree with that. But when Carmelo Anthony defends himself with a knife from two gigantic attackers, suddenly all that goes out the window. This peak hypocrisy. There's absolutely no evidence that it was self-defense, other than the fact that, as always, the monster charged in this crime has claimed it as such. Not a single eyewitness has come forward to corroborate that there's anything self-defense related here at all. Not one single person. And then we have the petition, which with 191 verified signatures already. The issue, April 2nd, 2025 is when he started this ridiculous petition. Oh no, I'm sorry, that's when the attack happened. During the high school track meet, Texas Hunter and Austin Metcalf went after Carmelo Anthony. In the course of this altercation, Austin Metcalf lost his life. When Carmelo Anthony faces charges, Hunter has not been held accountable, despite allegedly participating in the attack that led to his brother's passing. These people they are actually serious with this. These folks are actually serious with this nonsense. They want the brother who held his twin brother in his arms as he does it. They want him charged because Carmelo Anthony couldn't be bothered to literally just walk away. I want to remind you, there has not been one single piece of evidence to corroborate that Carmelo Anthony was acting in self-defense, made public. There was not one single piece of evidence put forth publicly that Carmelo Anthony was stopped in any way from walking away from a place he shouldn't have been. I could show you dozens of videos. It's literally a meme on the internet right now. If you go on Action, you type in, all they had to do was ask Carmelo Anthony to leave. And then it's dozens of videos of people simply just asking folks to leave, and they never do. Under Texas law, if someone passes away during the commission of a felony, then they need to be charged. So he puts the charges up here. Of course, this is by Mike Beggs, another Temu.com race hustler loser, like, who's that other idiot? The guy from Next Generation Action Network, who's probably one tax return away from federal prison, as it looks, at least based on other people's reporting. This is wild. I do not understand how you get to this point, but what's even more sad is the comments. All right? I want a justice system reflect everything what it does for black people. We get the same treatment just for being around, not having anything to do with it. Okay? So you're saying anybody who is in that general area should be charged? I'm not signing this petition because white people haven't learned. Wait, I'm signing this petition because white people haven't learned that they don't have the right to attack or impede black Americans' path simply because they're white. From the interview Hunter gave, he admitted they approached and attacked Carmelo. He said he was sitting there when they approached him. He never said at any point that they attacked him. White fatigue is real. I'm sick of white people's BS. Now, this could be a full account. I don't know. Probably a white, overweight, liberal woman. That's my guess. If I had to guess, that's what it was. Hunter needs to be held accountable. This is all in the last couple hours. Laws must be applied to all people. Hunter Metcalf is not an exception. Free Carmelo. F the nonsense. Hunter Metcalf is a dangerous criminal. Needs to be off the streets until his day in court. according to Texas legal system. Now, I would think, I thought that this was just a meme. I thought that no real people with actual logic could be signing this thing. So I'm wrong. These are all people, like, white people aren't allowed to impede the movement of black people without losing their lives. That's, by the way, a huge narrative from Carmelo's camp of supporters, is that he was acting in self-defense, and he absolutely had every right to take this man's life because he said things he didn't like. Or because hashtag other white people did things that black folks don't like. I mean, if I look at the, let's see, Give, Send, Go, the Carmelo Anthony fundraiser has been raised multiple times. It has stagnated at only $534,000, 730. By the way, they have not sent these supporters who gave their hard-earned money a single update since April 15th. In 3 weeks, they have not updated anybody as to where this money's going, how it's being spent. You know, I've got a video later today where I literally I had to talk to Give, Send, Go, and together we agreed. We raised almost $100,000, and we could not determine that the money was going to be spent correctly, or how it should be spent. And we updated people, and Give, Send, Go today is refunding all of that. That's what a responsible fundraising person does. Like, at no point have they told anybody what's going on with this money. But they don't care, because every dollar for this is just sticking it to Whitey. I mean, this guy is a clown. The Next Generation Action Network guy is a clown. Carmelo Anthony should be in prison for life because he took Austin Metcalf's life. And the people that are signing this petition are vile clowns as well. I hope you were informed by this video. Don't forget to pick up our Father's Day gift box while they still last. It probably won't be there past this week. Link in the description. We'll talk to you again real soon.
Oh, wow, look. There goes another, Yeah, as those are the scenes that a lot of people in Ukraine have to deal with as, of course, the stage is being set for a global, international, ever-expanding, escalatory conflict that, sadly, there looks like there is no end in sight to. All of this as Vladimir Putin has just spoken to Donald Trump. He has made some very big declarative statements and moves with the Ukrainians that are very telling right now. As, of course, it's pretty clear here, all bets are off, and the situation, it's just horrible. It's not good for the future of Europe, the future of Slavic people. And I kind of want to argue what probably will be happening next here. I think there's two big kind of escalatory situations that I see the Russians committing to and doing. And I'm going to be describing that and a lot more. And if you appreciate our geopolitical coverage, which, by the way, has been right on the money for many years on end now. A lot of people are like, you're sensationalistic. You think there's going to be a war with Russia. War with Europe and Russia, you're crazy. Well, guess what, son of a gun? We were on the money, and we were calling it for a very long time. You go to this YouTube channel 15 years back, you're like, oh yeah, you were warning about this, and it's happening. How did you have to force it? We just paid attention. It didn't take a genius to figure out all of the escalatory moves made to this crescendo move that is only going to lead to more escalatory solutions from there. So if you appreciate that, subscribe, click the notification button, as this situation that is already tense is going to get a lot more tense. As already, you're seeing the ongoing Russian-Ukrainian talks right now fail. They failed in many metrics. They failed in understanding each other. They failed because there was major escalations right before the eve of talks and negotiations. As it looks like the only thing that did kind of work out here after putting in his statement is that we are seeing one of the largest prisoner swamps of the war. That's what people are saying, oh, this is a good thing. This is when you get the blues. No, it's not. This is a sign of Putin, who just makes a very declarative statement, making his moves initialized here before the total breakdown of communications, before the total retaliation that we are all expecting him to make here very soon. We have also seen the Russians return at least 6,000 bodies of Ukrainian soldiers.
which a lot of people see as a big blow to the Ukrainians, as the Ukrainians will now have to pay the family members 15 million in pardon, and now with 6,000 militants, that is going to be about 90 billion Pisaria, their currency, or instead of 2.167 billion US dollars. Now, why are they making these huge prisoners for them, these huge moves here? Well, Vladimir Putin just declared on national television, this is his first statement, 72 hours after what he is describing as a terrorist attack by the Ukrainians on the Russian Federation, that he no longer will be declaring Ukraine a sovereign state, that he will be declaring Ukraine as a terrorist state. He then went on and said, who negotiates with terrorists? What's there to talk to about with them? Putin said. As still no direct retaliation so far, but with Putin setting up the landscape here, setting up the kind of legalese arguments to say, these aren't countries, these aren't armies, these are terrorists here. Again, we're still dealing with a special military operation that Vladimir Putin has a lot of restrictions for his military to conduct themselves by. I see Putin getting rid of those restrictions very soon, and he's going to be essentially treating the situation like he's dealing with terrorists, and he's doing that predominantly because there were innocent civilians that were hurt with these latest attacks that were conducted against the Russians inside of their own territory. Specifically, there was a derailment of a train, an explosion of a train railroad that took the lives of 7 Russian citizens, and therefore Putin is saying, these are terrorists. We no longer will be negotiating with terrorists. We no longer will be in direct talks with them, and we're just going to do whatever we want in this desperate situation, as we have seen national security states declare, oh no, these guys are terrorists. We saw what the Bush administration did. Oh no, these guys are just terrorists. We get to do whatever we want to do, and we get to bomb them to smithereens here. When the United States invaded Iraq, they went after all of the major kind of infrastructure of that country. You see Putin trying to go after some of the infrastructure of Ukraine, but he hasn't fully taken it out, like a lot of people kind of expected him to do it in a war. But again, he says this is not a war, this is a special military operation. Now, Putin did tell Trump that he will be hitting back Ukraine for the surprise drone attack and the sabotage attack on the railroads that happened to his country. And then we have Donald Trump's statement on all of this. And Donald Trump's statement is pretty eye-opening, as he just says, quote, and this is interesting because you see Putin reaching out to the United States saying, we're going to retaliate, which means they're going to retaliate in a big way. They want to make sure the United States is involved here, because again, there's a number of things at stake here. Specifically with the violation of the nuclear treaty that allowed and forced the Russians to have all of their nuclear kind of airplane arsenal for display for satellites to see for this kind of deal that, again, no longer will be applicable here. Before going into Donald Trump's statement and Lindsey Graham's surprise hotel room bill, we want to tell you about LukeUnfiltered.com. Hey, I'm Jim. They're cool. You get access to 6 speeches. He just finished speaking by telephone with President Vladimir Putin of Russia. The call lasted approximately 1 hour. He discussed the attack on Russia's docked airplanes by Ukraine, and also various other attacks that have been taking place by both sides. It was a good, constructive, it was a good conversation, but not a conversation that will lead to immediate peace. You don't say so. Yeah, it's pretty clear. You violate one of those nuclear treaties. You don't show good faith. Now Ukraine's designated a terrorist state by the Russians. They're going to treat this like any kind of government would treat terrorists, and now you can expect some very serious, heavy-handed approaches by the Russians. He says, Trump says, President Putin did say, and very strongly, that he will have to respond to the recent attacks on the airfield. We have also discussed Iran, and the fact that time is running out on Iran's decisions pertaining to nuclear weapons, which must be made quickly. I stated to President Putin that Iran cannot have nuclear weapons, and on this I believe that we were in agreement. President Putin suggested that we should participate in a discussion with Iran that he could perhaps be helpful in getting his front to a rapid conclusion. It is in my opinion that Iran has been slow-walking their decision on this very important matter, and we will need a definitive answer in a very short period of time. Now, a lot to do with Iran here, very little to do with Ukraine. Donald Trump hasn't really issued a statement about Ukraine's action, as there's scuttlebutt and rumors that he knew, that he didn't know. Now, Putin is letting Trump know, we're going to respond. Did the Ukrainians tell Trump? Who knows? We don't know that yet. Some people are saying, oh no, they just acted and totally were doing stuff without informing the President of the United States, which I don't like, to be quite honest. I think Donald Trump, who tweeted a few days ago before this attack, saying, I'm preventing and stopping a lot of very bad things from happening inside of your country to Russia, I think that was kind of signal. And I think Donald Trump, this is just my own kind of hunch here. This is just my own opinion here. And again, we'll find out later. Actually, Donald Trump was the one that said, yeah, go ahead, launch this attack. I think there's a possibility. There's still a possibility that Trump was out of the loop, but if he was, he would have been speaking out and saying, hey, I did not approve this, this is not okay, this is an escalation, this is the destruction of a nuclear treaty, this is something that I have not signed up for, specifically when it comes to derailing Russian civilian trains and taking the lives of 7 innocent civilians here from the Russians. Now, let's be honest here. Russia could end this special military operation, and they could just declare this a war. Now, if that would happen, Russia would then completely destroy all of Ukrainian energy. That's what the United States did to Iraq. They crippled all of its infrastructure right away. Lights out in Ukraine. Russian missiles would then destroy bridges over the Dnieper. Russian missiles would then destroy the railways from Romania and other regions of Ukraine, specifically coming in from Poland, where a lot of the military hardware has been moving in and out of. And the war would mean a full attack. We haven't seen a full attack. We have seen the Russians predominantly try to get control of Russian-speaking areas of territories that they accuse the Ukrainians of hurting Russian-speaking population people in. Now, the Ukrainians came up with their own list of demands here, but we could also see a Russian full mobilization. And let's be honest here, what I do probably see here happening is a full-on destruction of all of Ukrainian infrastructure and transportation. That probably is what is going to be the result of this kind of attack. Or, near Odessa, not on Odessa, but I think in the water, Putin blows up a nuclear weapon just to show them, look what we got, look what we can do. And it could be a show of force. There might be maybe a Poseidon weapon. I don't think he was using a Poseidon weapon, but he could hint at using a Poseidon weapon. He could blow off a nuclear weapon near Ukraine, and then kind of show that. Putin could also, and again, this guy's capable of anything. A lot of people are like, he's not a man, he's not a man. We told you this was the making for an extremely long time. He could also demonstrate some new type of intercontinental ballistic type of missiles, and he probably will be when it comes to destroying significant portions of Russia's infrastructure. And the Ukrainians have been going after the Russian infrastructure, and now with Putin declaring them terrorists, he's going to quote, try to wipe out terrorists, and he's going to be using all forms of sinister forms of warfare against the Ukrainians, and the Ukrainians outmanned, outgunned here, and truly this is just going to be a wild situation that's not going to be good for either party. It's just a horrible situation. Just as we also just found out that U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham, who was in Ukraine before and after this major sabotage attack, spent nearly $500,000 on a hotel room stay in Ukraine. This is the reporting we're getting from Minnesota that highlighted this U.S. spending.gov receipt here, talking about how hotel accommodations were equal to $411,000 and $634. This is the contract here. As Nick sort of said, people love whining in my comment section when I say Congress takes a lot of vacation. They're not on vacation. They're working in their districts. Bullish. Lindsey Graham was just partying in Ukraine on our dime. When did Lindsey Graham become the senator for Ukraine? As he was there, were there for this major attack by the Ukrainians against the Russians, as a lot of people are saying, how are these guys clued in here? But Donald Trump wasn't. Donald Trump didn't know what was going on. I don't believe that. This kind of sabotage conflict inside of Russia really is kind of terrifying. It's terrifying because it just shows you the advancement of how lethal, how destructive, how undefensible a lot of these drones are, especially when they're fiber optic. When they're fiber optic drones, signal jammers, all these type of new weapons don't work. They just clearly do not work at all. And we have seen individuals like Eric Schmidt that were part of the AI technocratic Pentagon board after leaving Alphabet and Google come out and play a major role in this. He recently came out and said, listen, stop making pens. Start making drones. Cheap drones have transformed this battlefield according to Schmidt, and he's right. As he's predicting, artillery, mortars, they're going to be phased out because they're ineffective. What is effective? The kit with the little joystick and a few $100s of hardware with an explosive brick to it. And soon there's going to be nanobots. The same kind of could blow up your prefrontal cortex. Just go to your heart. Blow up your heart? Oh, you had a heart attack. You think those capabilities don't exist? They do. And they're far more sinister. Even J.P. Morgan, the CEO of J.P. Morgan came out and said, yeah, he shouldn't be stockpiling anymore. He should be stockpiling bullets. Yeah, sadly, the prediction for the future of what's going to be happening here is more and more conflict. And some people are already saying that we are in fifth forms of generational warfare with other foreign countries right now. I made a previous video about that, about China. An interesting kind of theory there that a lot of people have that I think is worth considering. As we had the former president of Russia come out and recently declare Russia's seeking victory here, not a compromise. As he has officially declared here that they will not be losing the conflict, and that this back and forth type of war here is truly something that is going to be with us for the foreseeable future. I mean, this type of drone attack, I mean, this is just sinister genius. Let's be real with ourselves. You take these trucks, you drive them, it's impossible to stop every single truck. It's impossible to search every single truck. It's impossible to stop every piece of machinery and hardware. And when you have these type of capabilities that of course you could plan, you could put in there for years, they could just leave them. And then they could be just automated. AI could be calling and making all the decisions here based on threat assessment. These trucks self-destructed themselves here. They were placed for what many people believe in these fields next to military bases for some people say weeks, some people say months. It wouldn't surprise me, especially now with solar tech, that a lot of this type of stuff, a lot of these batteries, could be set up onto systems that could be there for a very long time. And all you have to do, set up some of these devices, set up some of these, it just takes a little time. And you do not need those layers of type of software that you spend hundreds of millions of dollars on. All you need is just this new cheap level. As I think we're going to soon, and have already evolved to a place where it's not just hand-sized. You can understand. They're smoking, bullet-sized. And again, Schmidt saying, hey, get rid of these tanks, get rid of these artillery. There's going to be huge drone-on-drone forms of warfare, and that's already happening in Ukraine. There's specific drones that are trying to counter and fight the drones in the sky as we speak. It's just a crazy type of way of thinking about it. As the average infantry doesn't stand a chance. I mean, they set up all these nets. The Russians have set up all these nets around their major transportation hubs in the battlefield in Ukraine. And these drones are like, we'll just go underneath them. And then, oh, look, the car's coming. And then mercy. Don't care. They don't take any prisoners. Absolutely, you know, crazy types of war that is now modern. They're gonna go. They're gonna go. And again, the Russians are going to Ukrainians are more short for manpower, though. This is direction to the more desperate problems. That's why they rely on tech, and that's why they've been doubling down and increasing their kind of drone warfare. The Russians are pissed off. They're going to retaliate soon. When they do, we're going to be talking about it and a lot more all here from an honest perspective. And if you thought we did that, share this video with your friends and family members. A lot more to get into all here exclusively on youtube.com.
I was hanging out with my friend yesterday, and we were talking about dating, and she was telling me how she's so frustrated with dating and with men, and she's just so over it. And she's 27, she's gorgeous, and I'm not just saying that because she's my friend. She's just objectively beautiful. She's from Brazil, she's sweet, she works out a lot, she's super fit. She's just had so many disappointing experiences over the last couple years. Like, she feels like guys just don't take her seriously for some reason. Like, they think it's okay to just treat her casually, even though she tells them up front she only is interested in something serious. She's not interested in anything casual. And some guys are just actually dumb. Literally, they don't know how to behave. On some of the dates, she'll like offer to pay or split something just to see how they react. Any gentleman is not going to accept that offer. He's not going to let the woman pay on at least the first handful of dates. And some of these guys will just let her pay. Like, they'll just be like, yeah, go ahead. You can pay for that. Yeah, pay for that. I'm sorry. He was just in the mindset of, like, I've just been so disappointed by so many of these guys. Like, I just don't even want to try anymore.
Let me get this straight, Queen. You're complaining because your friend from Brazil, or wherever she's from, was going out on dates with guys in New York, and she offered to pay her half of the date, and the guy said, sure, go ahead. And you say, oh, any true gentleman wouldn't accept money for a woman. OMG, the shock is amazing. You are totally right, Colleen. Next thing you know, they're going to want to treat you with more equality. Sorry, sister, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You're either a modern woman, dating in modern times, under modern rules, which 50-50 is part of that, and it's becoming a bigger and bigger portion of modern dating, or you're a complete traditional woman. I mean, let's think this through. Let's run this through logic. You are going to say to a guy, well, you have to pay for my dates, and let's say you have to open up the door, you have to do everything. You have to be the provider, the protector, everything a traditional man does. And that's his role to do it. No true gentleman wouldn't accept a relationship that he is not allowed to do that for a woman. Hey, you know what? Let's see the other side of that coin. If you're going to put that standard to a true gentleman, what's the standard for a true lady? He looks at you and he's going to ask you, are you a virgin? Oh, no true lady is not a virgin nowadays, because only a virgin that I'm courting is going to get all that treatment. I'm sorry, Colleen, but something tells this gorilla that that taco has been cracked more than once already. Somehow I don't think it's new package fresh. So next time you decide to throw demands around and set the bar of how a real man is supposed to be, why don't you look at yourself and realize that it's possible you don't live up to their definition of a real lady. Before we move on, and support the channel. It really helps out. Moving on.
Every time I have interactions with men, I am just more and more appalled and disgusted by men and the behavior of men towards women. Like, dating in my early 20s, men actually had respect for women, relatively. You at least felt like a human being around them, you know? You at least felt like they saw you as a human and not as an object. But the increase in all of these pill podcasts and women behavior on the internet has literally poisoned the minds of men. And it was to the point that I just stopped dating entirely for the last 6 months or so. I've been trying to give dating a chance again lately. I've been trying to date guys who are not, you know, my typical type. Yeah, even dating guys who are not my typical type has not fixed the issue. In fact, actually, it's worse. What's a girl to do? Give up? I always have dated guys who were like 10, 15 years older than me, because I've been dating guys around my age lately, and that's... Girl, now.
I'm say that happiness is from magic rays of sunshine that come down when you're feeling blue.
All right, bam. Allow this gorilla to use his above-average womanese translator. What she meant to say is, okay, when I was young and hot in my late teens and early 20s, I dated guys who were 10, 15 years younger than me, and they gave me everything I wanted because I was super hot. I got all my demands. Now that I'm post-wall, recently smashed, and I'm trying to date guys my same age, I'm going to complain about RP podcasting and all this stuff because
because these men are not putting up with my bullcrap. These men are interested in women younger than me. My dating pool is a shallow puddle now. I cannot pull in the same guys I used to be able to pull in. So obviously the problem is men, because it can't possibly be me, because as we all know, accountability cannot be attached to a woman who thinks that she's hot and she thinks that she's a 10, and men refuse to accept my level of 10. Alright, that's as close as I can translate it. Maybe I was off a little bit, you know. You do lose a few words in translation when you have that foreign language of womanese into modern day common sense. And she says, am I supposed to give up? No! That's what I was going to help you out, sweetie. All you have to do is continue to use the same dating strategy you did in your 20s. When you date a guy who's 10 to 15 years older than you now. You already had your golden age, you make it a silver age of dating that way. Moving on.
Do you know what's offensive? Dating at in your 30s. Do you know what's more offensive? When the people in your life who are in relationships or married or dating look at you with pity and they say, just keep trying, your time's coming, it'll happen when you least expect it, just get out there and meet people. No. Have you been on Hinge lately? Have you been on Hinge in 2025? If the answer is no, you are not allowed to give me your opinion. Like, I'm 31, and this whole meeting people organically out and about thing, I just don't think it exists anymore. I don't think people communicate in person, so we've been trying the dating apps. Let's start by Hinge, offensive. The most offensive thing is when the little prompt comes up on Hinge and it says, we think you two are the most compatible, and then you see who they're thinking you're compatible with. I'm like, that's what I'm bringing in?
No,
So it's a me issue. And then we have Tinder. Tinder is only good if you're overseas and you're in Europe, and that's really if you want to hook up with a hot European man. They are very sexy. But like in America, you're going to get kidnapped, and you won't be alive if you go on Tinder. And then we have Bumble. Bumble's a lot of work. I don't like to do all the work. I feel like I have to do so much work in my real life as a girl. No, I don't want to message you. I'm sorry. And last but not least, we have this magical app called Riot, which is like very exclusive. All the people not on Riot, they want to be on Riot. Let me tell you, no you don't. You don't want to be in Riot. They're matching you with people in Dubai, people in freaking Australia, people in Europe. No one where you live. And then if you do come across someone where you actually live and you do match with them, no one speaks. No one speaks. And if you do match with someone and you message them and they respond, or vice versa, you're never going to meet up. Riot's not for that. Riot's to see what famous person you come across, see if you can match with them. Maybe you'll hook up with them and have a good story, and that's that. And welcome to dating in 2025. So if you're not on a dating app, congratulations. Life is great. Do not give me your opinion.
Yeah, but the hose.
No, what? It's too hard to get the hose.
Do not give you my opinion. Wait, not dish out my opinion on the daily. I'm gonna give it out whether you like it or not. And you're about to take my opinion, just like you dished it out. And that is, congratulations. Women are the ones who have basically standardized modern dating. The dating apps, that's all you. Men only adapted to modern dating. Listen, if you women weren't on those apps to begin with, men would not jump on them. I promise you that. Men go where women are at, or I should say men who want to date will go where the women who also want to date are at. So you can complain about Hinge, Tinder, I don't care what dating app you want to use. Complain about them all you want. Guess what? Those apps are tended to give you an advantage. It's a reality. Men go into this knowing that. And what is your complaint exactly? That the apps are basically part of the hookup culture? Let me tell you something, sweetheart. Women are the gatekeepers to the hookup culture. Hookup culture cannot exist in the West if women do not give consent. And all you did was complain about, oh yeah, I can use this app to find someone famous and probably hook up with them, or hook up with a hot European guy. The point is, all of it is you. You gave consent to the entire thing. So when you're saying, I don't want to hear your opinion about it, don't care. My opinion is irrelevant at this point. What is relevant is your reality. And that is, all you do with these dating apps is running up that mileage, and every day, not just do you lose a little bit more traction, you also lose a little bit more respect as possible wife material. I mean, do you actually think that you're gonna get a husband off a Hinge? Well, he'll give you the honeymoon treatment for one night. At this point in the dating game, in 2025, we have to ask, do you queens out there actually believe that riding the carousel as hard as you're riding it is supposed to change with some new revamp of the apps? I mean, let's put some brain power into this. You're jumping from guy to guy to guy, and your complaint is that no man is taking you seriously for a serious relationship? Gee, I wonder why. Maybe he just doesn't want to pay full price for that petri dish of multiple DNA shots you've been collecting throughout the years. Moving on.
What I wish I knew when I was younger when it comes to dating and relationships. When I was single and maybe just in like the talking stage with a guy, or even when I was in relationships, some that were super short, maybe only a couple months, and also some that were a couple years long. In those relationships, there was always moments where I was like, why doesn't this person love me in the way that I know I deserve to be loved? Why does this person not want to fix this fight? Why does this person not want to change this action? Why does this person not want to make me their girlfriend? Why does this person want to like fix XYZ so that we can be together and I can be their wife? That was always like in the back of my mind in some of these situations where I felt like the problem was me, like I'm not good enough. And there were points where I was like, I should change to make this work. I'll do this to make it work, and I'll do this to make it work. I just couldn't do some of those things to make it work. And I'm not talking about like basic respect. I'm talking about like I couldn't be the docile girlfriend so that it would work. I couldn't, accept disrespect to make it work. I couldn't like be okay with certain things that I just felt like were fundamentally incorrect in a relationship. But even when it was all said and done, I would walk away being like, okay, I'm the problem, like I wasn't good enough for that person, or like what's wrong with me?
You're a victim.
Here we go, CSI. All right there, sister. You shot up a bunch of different things at once, and I just picked up on the most important one, so let me try to help you out here. Your first question was, why doesn't this person love me the way I know I deserve to be loved? First of all, you don't deserve anything. There's a reality here. You are not entitled to another person's emotions or actions towards you. You are entitled to what you do with your body, your emotions. So when you ask, why doesn't he give me what I deserve emotionally? I'm going to be honest. You may have put in the work. You may have put in everything that you thought would make the relationship work. But in the end, that's another individual. They have the right to act the way they want to act. And hey, you know what? The guy may be a total frickin' jerk. I agree, that's possible. But guess what? He has the right to act that way. And you have the right to leave him. So instead of asking these questions, why don't you leave him? But you continue to ask questions. And then the other question was, why doesn't he not want to make me his girlfriend? Maybe because he doesn't want to. That's simple. This is more of the entitlement me things. Walk away. Why they don't want you to be their wife? For the same reasons that I said before. They make their own choices. They're entitled to their own choices. Just like you're entitled to yours. You don't have to stick around, or you can accept how it is, or you can choose differently. It's complicated. It's not simple. But one thing is clear, you don't deserve a damn thing. At least at the end there, you were accepting that, yeah, you're the problem. Let's be honest. You're the common denominator, and it seems like you just want sympathy from people. All right, let's put this in a different way. Let's say the guy comes up to you, and he brings you a whole chicken and a pie, and he gives it to you, and then he's thinking, well, why won't she sleep with me now? Why doesn't she give me what I deserve? You look at that guy, and you're like, are you freaking crazy? Just because you gave me a pie and some chicken, I'm supposed to jump into your bed? Well, that's the equivalent of the question that you're asking here. You're giving him things that may be great for him to have, but he doesn't see it enough to turn you into his girlfriend, or give you the love that you deserve. But let's hear what else she has to say.
Then when I met my husband, I realized I was not the problem. I was just with the people that weren't meant for me. My husband is the person who made me realize when you are with someone that you want to be with, there is nothing that you don't want to figure out. There's nothing that like you're not going to want to not communicate on. Like it's such a partnership that two people are like, hey, I want to make this work and I want you to be my person. Here's what we do, X, Y, Z. But I've also realized when they are your person, you don't have the same type of extreme battles. I don't have to sit there and like demand you to respect me because like he just wanted to naturally do that. So like that wasn't even a fight or conversation. Disagreements on whatever it may be, like communication style, something that we just both see differently in life. It was never a fight. It was just like, hey, how can we sit down and communicate about this so it can work for both of us? So if you feel like you just can't find the right guy, or maybe you're even in a relationship where you're just like, it's not working for some reason, no matter how like hot, rich, funny, in the end, you have some amazing moments, but like the fundamentals, you're like, something's off. It's not you. You just haven't found the right one yet, and when that right person comes into your life, it's just gonna click like that. I can't explain it, and it sounds so cliche, and it's so annoying that it's like explained that way, but I promise, I went to years of therapy, and until it happened to me, I didn't believe it.
Whoa. After all those strikeouts and you finally got hit with one guy, you said that because he's your husband, now you realize that you were not the problem? You were just with the wrong people? Okay, how about another possibility? How about you met the one guy who's willing to put up with your crap? You still are the problem, and it is possible that this marriage is not going to last. I mean, this is nothing new. We've seen this before, where women have problems dating, they find that one blue pill simp that marries them, and they think, oh, this is wonderful, but then years down the road, they divorce him, and then they villainize him.
And they say he's the problem. He fooled you. I mean, Colleen, you already said that you are not the docile type. So then when you come up and you say, my now husband, you know, the fight, we just sit down and communicate. You don't communicate, sister. You basically dominate this guy. You roll all over him. And you think it's wonderful now because you're going through the honeymoon phase, as in, I finally got me a husband. Yay! Everything's sweet. Yeah, I'll give you 5 years down the road when you start looking at your husband differently because he's a pushover. You start losing respect for him. And then all of a sudden, oh no, I just don't feel happy anymore. I'm falling out of love with him. I gotta find my happiness. I gotta go out there and find myself again. This is a story that has been played over and over again hundreds of thousands of times every year in the West. And I do feel for him because I could tell that you're the type of woman who's gonna find utter joy in taking him through the gauntlet of family court. I mean, you're gonna throw him in that Iron Maiden and torture away. And I know that my female viewers out there are probably going to watch it and say, OMG, this girl is just another misogynist. Why do you keep talking so negatively about this woman? Can't you, for once, recognize that she's happy and applaud her? Well, to that I say, I applaud her for getting a husband. I really do. And at the same time, I challenge you ladies to compare her one story of success and then go into the comments and ask all of my male viewers, hey, those of you who are married and are not divorced, how many of you married a woman who's similar to this one right here? Same mannerisms, same attitude, same problems. I'm pretty sure that there's going to be a good number of my male viewers that are going to come out and say, yeah, been there, done that, got the divorce papers. I mean, ladies, getting divorced is like getting fired from a job you hated, except after you get fired, you got to pay half your salary back.
Game over, man. Game over.
I'm just saying, if you enjoy this audit, click on the
XV1, up for critical review, is Jordan Maxwell on oddities, skyfish rods and orbs. I find elite electric eels and circuit courts, ground cells, electric chairs, charge, discharge, bailout, etc. rather interesting. Kite to light and discovering in a manual for electricity over 2,600 years ago. Literally taking mankind out of the dark with human. At Christmas time I holy holly seed tree creator and make a chop light bulb in perfect harmony. And here's the late great Jordan Maxwell.
I wanted to talk with you about your work on the rods, and there's a couple things I wanted to tell you about them, about the rods. Well, we need to explain to the audience what you were doing with the subject of rods, R-O-D-S. You go on the web and just type in rods and then Jose Escamilla, and you'll see some extraordinary stuff that Jose's been investigating and videoing and filming for a long time. They're referred to as rods.
Or
they're actually living things.
too.
Say it again?
Also, they're referred to as skyfish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you what's happening. Back in 1994, I had a UFO encounter at Midway, New Mexico, which is 2 miles south of the air base where the 409th Aero Squadron was. You know, they dropped the bomb in Hiroshima.
Oh, yeah.
And we had UFOs appearing there in broad daylight from March 5th up until currently they're still appearing. But on March 19th, I discovered a phenomena, because I was looking in the viewfinder of the camera, and I'd see things fly by super fast, and I go, oh, that's a bird, that's a bug, that's an insect, that's a bird, because that's what they appeared to be, were insects or birds close to the lens of the camera. But when I started looking at the footage, we had insects, and you could tell the wings and the little legs and all that. And then we had birds fly by, but then we had these things that looked like flying snakes. Okay, so,
that's right.
What in the world are these things? And this former girlfriend of mine, she was a nurse. She goes, oh, those things look like rods. And I go, well, what are rods? And she goes on to explain to me that in Tabor's medical dictionary, the rod is a bacteria that is like cigar-shaped, and it has this membrane along both sides of the torso bilaterally, and that's how they travel. And she said they look like rods under the microscope. These are microscopic images, so that's where the term came for rods, because they look like something you'd see under the microscope.
Yeah.
And so, we start studying these things, and it turns out that we now have, and this is going on 22 years of researching the rods phenomena. First of all, I had these idiots out there, Monster Quest did a number on me. They tried to explain the rods away as being nothing but misfilmed insects. And they did a trick on people. They set up a high-speed camera with a low-speed regular camera, but they did it at night. And
well, you can't see it anyway.
Yeah, it compromises the shutter setting of your regular camcorder. The high-speed camera will film things as they are. So, but the producers knew this. They didn't do the broad daylight high-speed test because they had set up at this hummingbird area where they had hummingbirds, and they said hummingbirds are the closest thing to rods, which is BS. But they set up in broad daylight, and they said, well, no hummingbirds have shown up today, so we're not going to do the broad daylight high-speed camera test and regular camcorder test in broad daylight. So that's how they got out of having to do that. And believe me, if they would have done the camera test in broad daylight with the high-speed camera and the camcorder using my skyfish protocol, they would have gotten total different results than what they got at night. So anyway, that's how they fooled the American people. But for 22 years, I've been waiting on the opportunity to catch a rod, either catch a specimen or to catch the best footage of a rod. And we finally have, Jordan, we finally have a rod filmed at 2,000 frames per second using the Epic Red Cam, which is the Red camera is the highest resolution camera in the world, okay? So we now have a rod shot at 2,000 frames per second, 4K resolution, which is awesome, broad daylight, at 2,000 frames and at 24 frames per second. That means it's true 24 frames. There's no interlacing video, which is the debunkers use interlacing, saying that's what's causing the rod effect. Well, no, we have 24 frames per second, 2,000 frames, high speed, super slow motion, and guess what? The rod is awesome, man. We finally have the footage that I've been waiting for that not only proves that rods are real, but shows you what a rod looks like, man.
Yeah.
So,
it's highly intelligent, too.
Oh, yeah, these things, we now have footage of them on Mars. We have footage taken by the rover on Mars, and you can see one of the things that the rods are known for is they have the undulation fins on both sides of the body.
Yeah.
The rods that are filmed on Mars have the wave fins, man. Undeniable. All right, and that's NASA stuff, man. And there's no insects on Mars, so if that's an insect, it's a big, giant insect, man.
That's right.
So we now have that, and we also have a gentleman in Washington, D.C. that's using the same cameras that NASA uses on the International Space Station, and he's got these cameras with the highest ISO rating, which I wouldn't even begin to know what ISO means, but he's got the most amazing rod footage, squadrons of rods flying over Washington, D.C. in the no-fly zone. He's got squadrons of these things, man, and you can see them. You can see the wave fins. It's amazing what these things look like, man, and he's got incredible footage.
Well, I need to tell the people what we're talking about, like I said, is something we call rods, R-O-D-S.
Yep.
And you can go on the web and just type in rods in the video.
You'll find it.
Yeah, and you'll find it. But it has to be some kind of a living entity that's like a snake. It's like an eel. It operates like an eel or a snake in that it's long, slender, but it's extremely fast. And it takes and it slips, it'll pass it by you instantly. And your eye catches something pass, but it was so quick. So you have to back up the tape and go through it one frame at a time, and then you see this snake-like thing flying through the air. Well, now we find out, like you were saying, is that these things are everywhere, and they're big, little, long. It's an incredible life form that we don't know what they are. Have we figured out anything about what they might in fact be?
No. The thing is we now also have footage of rods underwater. And I've got some of the most amazing. You know, technology has finally caught up to the rods phenomenon. I mean, we've got a guy off of the coast of Florida that's, you know, he's messing around with sharks and stuff. But he said, man, this thing just flew past us. It was super fast. And he said, it looked like a rod with these things on the side. And he had never heard of rods until he did a Google search. And now we have footage that he took underwater of rods flying along with sharks and super fast in the water. So we have rods underwater. We have them in our skies. We have rods shot by the shuttle cameras, the International Space Station, in space. And then now we have rods on Mars. So these things...
It's just incredible.
It's an incredible entity of some kind. The reason we say it's a living entity is because it has the behavior of something that's intelligent, and it was super fast. Anyone that's out there in your listening audience, if you've ever seen a dark or a white object pass in front of your face real fast, or in your eye peripheral, and you looked, and you thought automatically it's an insect or a bird, and you look and there's nothing there, you probably had a rod encounter.
That's exactly right. And I had about a dozen that I saved of movies, motion pictures of movies, just a movie, where, and then I saw, because I rented the video, and I saw the rod shoot past the scene, and I backed it up, and damn, in the movie. You know, anytime you got a camera going, if you got a camera running, these things are everywhere. They're all around us. So I don't care if you're shooting a movie or in a congressional hearing. It doesn't matter. These things are everywhere, but they move so fast that you don't see them normally, unless you happen to be concentrating on a picture or a movie or something, and you just see instantly something shoot past. Go back and back it up, and then you'll find out this was a rod, whatever it is.
I'm doing this new movie, and the final movie on rods is called They Live in the Skies. And I have footage of Obama at his inaugural address, and there's two rods that fly behind the Washington Monument while Obama's over here saying his...
They're that big? They're that big that you
huge.
Them? Yeah.
They were huge, man. They fly behind the Washington Monument. So no idiot can say, oh, that's an insect. No, idiot. These things behind the Washington Monument, that it's about maybe 500 yards away from where the camera was set up. And we also have footage of them underwater. International Space Station, man. We've got some incredible stuff on rods, man.
Yeah, I know. And also, you know, I remember, I think it was at that conference back in '94, that, or maybe it was up in Frisco, but I went with you and 3 or 4 other guys, and we went up to your room at the hotel, and you were showing us some videos that you had just taken. And I remember you talking about that these rods seem to congregate around high electrical force fields, electrical fields like electrical power lines, the big power lines.
Exactly. Yeah, and they do. They still do. I've got footage of some rods flying over the house here. You know, my house where I'm at.
Of course. Yeah.
And there's some power lines that are next door.
That's right.
That's some incredible footage, man.
Yeah.
And it's broad daylight footage. These things, a lot of people say, well, you know, I've never seen a rod at night. Well, I do have footage of rods at night. Wilbur Allen, the guy in Washington, D.C., is using these cameras that International Space Station uses at night, but they're high-velocity cameras, man, high speed. And the rods are amazing, man.
Look, obviously, they don't sleep, so if they're all around us during the day, they're all around us during the night.
They are always moving. I've never seen a rod stand still. However, in our movie, I have a shot of a rod filmed on infrared at night in the UK of a rod falling downward. You know, most of these rods fly left to right, right to left, up and down in the street. This rod is still, but it's coming downward, if you can imagine that. So we now have a rod that's falling straight down. And the only time I had a shot of a rod that was falling straight down is a shot that's going to be in the movie, but it's a shot at the Cave of the Swallows in Mexico, which we found a nest of them. But there's a space jumper that's falling downward, okay? He's doing 90 miles an hour, which is close to terminal velocity. Terminal velocity is the speed that a human body falls downward, okay? Terminal velocity. This guy is in perfect focus. The camera is filming him down the back of the cave area where he's falling downward is a blur, but he's a perfect focus, and the camera is following him fall downward. But what happens is he's going down, and a rod flies underneath him, makes a U-turn, and goes back where it came from.
Yeah, I know. I've seen that, I think.
I think I showed you that footage.
Yeah, I think you did.
What's amazing is that this guy's falling downward at 90 miles an hour, and so is the rod. But at the same time, the rod is moving left to right and making a U-turn, falling downward 90 miles an hour, but left to right, then making the U-turn at the same time.
Yep.
That's an amazing, incredible thing. No one's ever seen anything like that. I've never seen anything like that in my life. And this is a living entity of some kind, I think. We don't know what they're at. Where the problem.
Well, we don't know, but they are obviously living because they're moving, and they're obviously intelligent. They have an intelligence. I mean, you know, we can say that fish have some kind of an intelligence. They know what they're doing. They know where they want to go. That's the same thing with these things we call rods. They're long, living things that are right in front of you.
And they are here in their own, doing their own purpose. They are doing their own thing. There's nothing we can do to control them.
So what I've seen on YouTube, there's somebody was filming a storm that was coming. It was brewing, a big storm. It was in the Midwest, I think, like Kansas, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And they were in an apartment that was obviously upstairs, and it was and they were out in the balcony, and they were filming the cloud forming and looking like it was maybe going to be a tornado.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, out of that cloud, well, miles away, you can see this huge rod come down and stop, move backwards and forwards, and then shoot back up into the cloud again. And instantly, boom, 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 but if you slow it down, there's a huge rod comes out of that cloud, comes down, stops, turns around, and shoots back up into the cloud.
And in a split second, they did.
In a split second, all within less than a second. And,
I had some of the most incredible rod footage associated with a tornado. This was the biggest tornado to hit, and this was back in 96, I think it was, in Oklahoma City. It was a big, huge tornado, 300-mile-an-hour funnel, that kind of thing. And I've got these rods, man. The helicopter, the weather helicopter was 15 miles away from the cell, the thunder cell. 15 miles away, and a rod flies out of the clouds and lasts 3 frames. It comes out and goes back into the clouds. And then there's another rod shot with the same helicopter footage in the funnel that's another 20 miles away. A huge rod goes right into the funnel, 20 miles away. And this rod is almost the same thickness as the funnel. I mean, what are these things, man?
They're big, and they're small, they're tiny, they're huge, they're all sizes, and they all seem to be living tissue, living things, but they move so quickly. And like I said, Jose's been doing a lot of research on this over the years.
22 years, man. And we finally have the footage that proves they are real. So once I release this movie, They Live in the Skies. Oh, and I'm also including a segment, an area there of orbs. You know, these light orbs.
Oh, yes.
Oh, man, I have some incredible stuff. There was a guy in Tokyo, Japan, that was living in a high building, about 20 stories, you know.
Yeah.
He's photographing these orbs that are appearing outside his window. And these orbs were amazing. They had spikes all around them. Spikes, man, you know. And this one shot that he filmed that he sent me is this orb that's probably about 10 blocks away from where he's at. Now, this is 20 stories high, 20 stories up.
Yeah.
This orb is shining next to a big 20 or 30-story building that's next to it, and its reflection appears on the windows.
That's pretty trippy stuff.
It's amazing. Yeah, I'm going to have that in my film, man. You know, so a lot of good stuff coming out with They Live in the Skies, man. We're going to prove that this entity exists among us, and we're going to prove that there's a U.S. unidentified flying object, that we finally have solid evidence that it's there.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Until we catch one and dissect it and find out more about it, we won't know what it's made up of or what its purpose is. But we can tell you this film proves that these things are there.
Yeah, you know, I don't think humans are ever going to be able to capture one. It's the kind of thing my gut tells me these things are too, they're not of this.
Now, how do you catch something that you can barely see?
That's right. And it moves at such a speed that even cameras, you just have to, by chance, happen to be filming something to see it. But I've seen them in movies, television shows.
Oh, man, I've got a film, an IMAX movie that was released. It was called, what is it? It's called Adrenaline Rush or something like that.
Yeah.
There's a helicopter that's above this cliff area in the fjords of Norway. And there's snow down there, and these space jumpers are about to take a leap off the cliff. And the helicopter is driving them, and a huge white rod flies right above their heads.
I love it.
And you can't say that's a bird or an insect because, number one, it's too doggone cold, and number two, if it would have been a bird or something close to the camera lens, the downdraft of the helicopter blades would have,
Of course.
This thing flies right above the big jumper heads, left to right, and then the helicopter moves forward, and there's other rods that are flying downward, down into the beach area of the fjords, the cliffs there of the fjords. It's some amazing things. Also, you've heard the movies, The Expendables?
Yeah, I think I have, yeah.
Okay, in the movie Expendables 3, there's a shot where Jean-Claude Van Damme, the helicopter is landing. There's a rod that flies through the helicopter blades. It's a white rod that flies through the helicopter blades. I've got that footage. It's there, The Expendables 3.
That's amazing that it can go through the blades.
Through the blades, man. You think this thing would be chopped up, man?
I'm wondering if it goes through walls, because that's why they are, you can see them in your bedroom if you got a camera or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about them going through walls because the footage that I so that means that they have mass.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's good to know.
I used to think that these things entered the ground from underground, but they were just flying so fast and above the ground, you know, very low to the ground, that I thought they were going into the ground. But I don't have any footage of a rod entering solid matter.
Yeah.
But I've got other, I've got everything else.
Well, it's a one hell of a story.
Welcome back, Troy. You guys have been saying it. You guys have been saying it. The fucking inter-Atlantic. You guys have been saying me the great episode. Shut the fuck up, bro. Welcome back, Troy. Or not. Welcome back, Troy. You guys have been sending me some fire videos. We got one here where the LGBT movement is failing. It's been going viral. I only watched the first second, and I was shocked, bro. Literally has a name tag or just a patch that says gay, as if you can't tell already. Ah! Get me off the planet.
Okay, we carry the largest trans pride flag to ever be flown in a national park and unfurled it on the side of El Cap to prove a point. That trans is natural.
Please, tell me what's natural about having to wear a wig and tons of eye makeup to try and get people to treat you like a woman.
The Trump administration and transphobes would love to have you believe that being trans is unnatural, but species that can transition sexes can be found on every continent and in every ocean on planet Earth.
That had to be the most disingenuous analogy that I've ever heard. Show me a human male that's become female spontaneously without spending like $100,000 in the operating room. Well, even the surgeries don't change their biology. And just because certain animals can do things doesn't mean that humans can do those things. Some animals aren't sexually dimorphic and the females are just as strong as the males. That's not humans though. There are a lot of differences between the sexes. I mean, I don't think I've seen an analogy this bad since the croissant analogy.
If trans women aren't women, then is this big croissant not a croissant?
Of course it's a croissant.
It's made out of butter and dough just like any other croissant.
Right, the big croissant and a small croissant are still both croissants. Except that's not what's happening here. You're not a big croissant saying that you're a small one. You're a taco saying, I identify as a pastry.
So before I demolish this delicious and very valid pastry, repeat.
Bro, these people are nuts, dude. I can't listen. Before the DSM-7, whatever number we're on, that's the criteria for, you know, what psychologists use to classify what a mental disease is and is not. There was a certain ideology that was there before it got politicized. Isn't it insane? Like, people just wanted to be left alone, right? And then all of a sudden, bro, like an avalanche, it just started getting pushed on the mainstream on everybody. They were being pandered so hard. It was, dude, you couldn't get away from it. They were being celebrated, pushed in the mainstream, like Day 57, be a real look. You remember all that? You couldn't escape it even if you tried. Companies were milking that shit. The government was pushing it at one point, and then it's had a complete reversal. You don't hear a peep. Companies haven't even switched their flags to the rainbow variations this entire month. Nobody's switched. Nobody, bro, nobody. Do you hear Target? Do you hear all these companies that got blowback from all this stuff? Do you hear them pandering to this kind of ideology? Nope. Nobody. It just stopped. Stone cold. We're sick of it, bro. We got more problems here. And then you're telling me, oh, it got all the way down to the kids. Dude, when you started to see, I don't know what they were allowed to show on YouTube, but if you have an X account, you could see some of the story time drag hours where they're in, it's debauchery, it's raunchy, it's disgusting, and highly sexualized performances, and they were doing these in front of kids. No.
Eat after me. Big croissants don't affect me in the slightest.
Yeah, that's not the case. In fact, that's exactly everyone's problem and why people have so much energy against trans activism. We were all just out here minding our own business, and then all these activists started inserting themselves into everything and saying, you have to treat us how we demand you treat us, or you lose your job. This sort of extortionist behavior is why people are mad at the LGBT crowd.
Actually not right.
And my channel ended up getting striked twice. Strike twice for covering this content. Sticking up for children, saying they shouldn't be getting these surgeries, they shouldn't be put on these powerful chemicals. Strike twice for an ideology that came and went. strike twice. Nearly had the entire channel deleted, effed up my income, effed up my reach, took muster. Actually, that channel never even started recovering after that. It just got perma-banned into the shadow realm. For this is for saying the same stuff you could say today. Same shit with the magic shop that we got a few years ago. You couldn't usher a peep about that. And strikes, YouTube was just handing that shit out like they were Oprah. Strike, you get a strike, you get a strike, you get a strike. It was same shit with this, man. A few years back, like, 2019, 2020, 2021, this madness was in like full effect, dude. They were pushing it on social media like crazy. Companies were just completely virtue signaling this shit. Everywhere, companies were like, my pronoun is different. Where like Microsoft was doing a keynote speech and introducing products and shit. Thank you, I'm a blue-haired alien. I go by he, her. Come on, I'm over that shit, bro. Get away from the kids.
And use they them pronouns. I definitely could see that. In the best way possible, you look like you'd be non-binary. Slay, they. You realize that isn't a compliment, right?
I guarantee you that when people say that, 99% of the time it's not meant to be a compliment. And that's because as soon as you see the wacky color and the nose ring, oh wait, this person actually doesn't have a nose ring. Shocking. But when regular people see the wacky outfits, they know they're about to deal with a very difficult or annoying person. Or a narcissist. I mean, there are just so many examples of people with narcissistic personality disorder being gassed up by every major corporation for identifying as LGBT. And everyone hates stuff like this. From today to today, women want to be her, men want to be with her.
I posted
Dylan
that
Mulvaney,
post.
the true definition of beauty and grace. Bro, Dylan Mulvaney doesn't even want to be Dylan Mulvaney. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. Now, I'm sure there are plenty of trans people out there who just want to mind their own business and go on with their lives. In fact, the right to be able to mind their own business was originally what the LGBT movement was pushing for. And I think that's an idea that most Americans these days would have no problem supporting. However, the activists, not the normie LGBT people, I'm specifically talking about the activist part of this community, constantly display the most self-centered and entitled behavior. And it's not transphobic or bigoted to point out when someone's being a self-absorbed asshole. Let's go back to that image. Women want to be here. Yeah, except for all the women who were pissed off at Dylan's woman face behavior. In fact, people were so mad at Dylan that Anheuser-Busch almost had to give up the Bud Light brand. Men want to be with her. No, they don't. Straight men don't. The second they find out you're trans, you're gonna get ghosted.
This video is for straight men and straight men only. I'm sorry, but how in the world could you not like me? Yes, I'm a trans woman, I'm a dog. Like, what is so different about dating me than a cis woman? You can do everything that she can.
Except have children. Did you notice the narcissistic, I'm so great behavior? That's why people don't like you. The guy I was on a date with just found out that I was trans. Why is he just finding out on the date? Why wasn't this disclosed on the dating app? I mean, they were definitely using a dating app where photos can be edited and the voice chat wasn't used. Why is it so hard to date straight men when you're just a normal trans girl who makes content for the internet? Well, there you go. Stop catfishing people and maybe you'll find someone who actually likes you. I mean, it's crazy how many trans people think it's perfectly fine to start a relationship out by lying by omission.
What are you even really disclosing? What is there to disclose? Literally, you're a dude. That's what you're disclosing. I wanted to share this with you guys. What are you disclosing? You don't need to disclose anything, bro, clearly. Like, we can tell. But other ones that have gone through extensive surgery, yeah, disclose. And it's going to lead to lives lost. Like, a dude finds out, he's going to flip his shit. It's already happened. I think they're, like, guys like this have gotten beaten up horrendously and life-threateningly sometimes. Let me send this to myself. You guys gotta see this. Okay, beat this. I don't know if you guys are keeping up. I'm just gonna read the headline for you. You guys remember this boxer? She was continuing. I can't even read it anyway. As if I'm gonna subscribe to the Telegraph, bro. Get out of here. So it says, leaked medical report proves Iman Khalif's is a biological male. Sex test results which debunk, they have a, in quotations, proves. Sex tests which debunk IOC stance on controversial Olympic boxing champion published online. And it says, the results from the 2023 World Championships have been published for the first time with a medical report appearing to indicate that the boxer is biologically male. And I remember hardcore gaslighting. Hardcore. In the media, everybody was lambasting anybody that would say or would dare even assume. They're like, had an apology tour. You guys, the victimization. You guys are just picking on me. Why would you do that? Okay. Then it said somebody said I was pretty sure he was a man based on the world boxing banning him based on testing. Yeah. If you have a Y chromosome, you're a male. Have a nice day. And then this comment says, remember his father coming on news offended? Folks were stating he was not a woman. Yep. And we're getting lectured hard about this. And that's just one of the things, like the fatigue, bro. The fatigue of this movement is absolute maximum levels. Let's continue.
There's no deception. When you're dating someone, you don't have to disclose every single thing about yourself up front. That's the fun of it. You get to learn about someone new.
Considering that the status of your sexuality is a big deal for a relationship, that definitely should be disclosed before you even go on a date. Though in this case, I actually wouldn't worry because I don't think anyone's being fooled by you.
He shows off his results of facial feminization surgery. What is your reaction? Again, just reading tweets, doesn't matter to me. Let's take a look at this. Brad, I'm going to keep it a buck. You got to go back and ask for a refund. Like, this was not a complete job. This is just incomplete homework.
Though, to be honest, some trans people are more feminine than others, and it's harder for normies to tell. So in the case where someone is intentionally tricked and any form of sexual contact happens that they would otherwise not consent to, I think that should be considered sexual assault. These people are all about consent, right? Well, you can't consent if you don't understand the terms of the deal, and if you're trying to trick someone into consenting to something they otherwise would not consent to if they had full knowledge of the terms.
Also, there's some dude on TikTok. I was going to do an episode on this, but I was like, I'm not risking it because YouTube's so stupid. But the backlash has been so swift and the cultural temperature, I guess you could say, has shifted dramatically back to normal. And this dude on TikTok was saying it's not gay if you sleep with a trans woman. Some cowboy dude on TikTok. Don't know who it is. You might have seen the shorts or you know, clips of their videos because they go viral for the absolute insane statements being made. And they push that, bro, in the algorithm. It has priority.
Then that is very much the mentality of a rapist. You aren't fooling anyone. Everyone knows that you aren't disclosing this information right away for a reason. And really, the best way to continue to take power away from these people so they can't threaten us anymore is to just start calling stuff what it is. All the bullying that trans activists have been doing can completely be defeated if we just stick to reality. Which brings us to a trans TikTok influencer who goes by Lily Tino. Well, this person has already been brought up, but now I have a bigger point to make. If you haven't seen any of the content, this type of stuff is what Tino is famous for.
The bottom is from Thailand?
Coconut bread from Thailand.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am. And the winter one is from India.
I just like totally sucks. Hey, can we go back like 100 years and then show men, right? If we had a time machine and show them this dude wearing this outfit with this on his head, what do you think people would be thinking about the future? They would probably be thinking how to nuke the future to avoid this timeline.
Joy out of this bread tower makes me want to immediately like leave because I no longer feel like safe here. It's like, oh, my garden has to be up. I'm not going to enjoy this bread as much because my garden is up. We should be able to go to places and not worry. I don't think I really want this bread tower, actually. I think I'd rather have a check.
Did anyone catch what went wrong here? I actually had to watch this multiple times, so let's do a quick repeat.
Coconut bread from Thailand.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am.
So Tino is mad because the waiter said sir. Well, it's kind of hard to call you a man when you look like a sir, and Tino knows that people will make this mistake, which is why tons of misgendering videos are on Tino's channel.
I just want to tell you that the person who gave me this called me sir. Called me sir. Just like, it kind of just hurts a lot.
Oh my lord.
Thank you. I'm not sir.
Nothing like a good misgendering. It is a knife in the gut when I get called sir. It hurts more, though it's not intentional, because it means like this is sir to him.
Yeah, it's such a knife to the gut that you keep intentionally putting yourself in these situations and film them happening over and over again. Even with the feigned politeness, everyone knows that you're doing this on purpose. And not just that, but Tino has openly talked about not actually caring about being called sir.
Look, I don't need your approval to love my face. But honestly, keep these comments coming because they really don't bother me in the way that you think they bother me, and they boost engagement on my stuff, so keep at it.
Okay, bro, so this is all for engagement. Now we know. This is a shtick. We're doing this because it's like easy money. You know, jobs don't pay well. So it's like, you know, shock jock quality stuff. What can I do to make it big? What's stuff that's very trendy but also controversial? I'm going to try to do these, what are they called? Gender baits? Trans baits? I don't know what the fuck you call this kind of content. Misgendering content. Like, put zero effort in the look. Like you said earlier, there's some that it's really hard to tell. And then there's some that is like, bro, got a whole beard and he put on lipstick and it's like, call me ma'am. Why is this even a conversation in the West, bro? What happened to us? World beaters, conquerors, creators of civilization, ushered in technology splitting the atom to this. How? Why is this accepted? These are victims, bro. Truly. These people need help. You know, it's like we're going to have that realization in society, I think, one day soon, hopefully, that, you know, all these kinds of people really were victims the entire time. Were mentally vulnerable people that got taken advantage of, probably by, you know, algorithmic voodoo in the content that they were consuming. And this is the result of that. An ideology that spread far beyond like organic proportions. You can map it out and see that this isn't organic growth in society. And it's kind of like how we view drug addicts, not as criminals. You know, drug users aren't criminals. It's a medical problem. We need to help people, rehabilitate them, you know, to help them beat their addiction. You don't imprison a drug user, a drug addict, whatever, somebody addicted to something, and then like they're going to get out of prison just be okay. Or applying statutory crimes to something as simple as like smoking a crack pipe, you know, like I don't think making drugs illegal, like I'm personally, I don't think they should be illegal. I think we should teach people what happens if you use them, and if you get hooked, what's going to happen to you. Because the people that want to try crack, for example, my point of view is the people that want to try crack are going to get crack somehow. That doesn't matter. We need to get rid of the street dealers. We need to get rid of these people that are, you know, putting fentanyl and all this other shit that's just killing Americans. Portugal is the one that has this model, I believe, where Portugal decriminalized. I'm not saying fully legalize and just have it willy-nilly. I'm just saying decriminalize it and actually help the people that are addicted to come off forever. And then, like, they had a massive change in Portugal, I believe, where, you know, one of the nastiest slums with people, like, with needles everywhere, and, like, you know, they look like they're currently undergoing a high and shit, and that turned into a nice, decent place. You could walk down there. They had these shelters, and they had these, like, little clinics that would help people come off their addictions. Right now in the United States, we criminalize a lot of the hard drugs that people are, like, chemically dependent on. They're hooked. And what they need is medical intervention to get them off. And that's why we keep having this high recidivism, you know, just people just keep coming and going out of prison because they get hooked on the drug, they go to prison, you know, they do something to get their high from the drug, and they go back to prison. Rinse and repeat when they get out, bro. That need, that want for that hit never leaves. This is probably what's going to happen with this community. Further down the line, we're going to see, like, hey, man, these people were already mentally vulnerable, and they got hijacked into believing an ideology that didn't make them mentally fit, mentally healthy. Actually, it cost them a lot. Like, whether you affirm them or not, there was a landmark study that was published that their self-delete rates were still the same, 50% or more. That's on par with other psychological issues, mental illnesses.
A bunch of people saying sir in the comments is what's being responded to. So now we have that bullying people. It's completely about getting...
And then it's so crazy to see parents... I have to just say this. It's crazy to see that the parents push this on the children. Like, you're a grown adult. You want to do what this guy's doing? and around in society and making money off of it, fine, bro, do your thing. You're a grown man. You do what you want. You have that right. But, like, don't tell me a 5-year-old knows what, like, pronouns they use. Don't tell me a 5-year-old knows that they want to transition already. Don't tell me that they want to be put on chemically castrating agents that absolutely permanently affect their growth cycle into becoming adult humans. Like, come on, man. Really? Is this the conversation we're having? You're not allowed to smoke cigarettes until you're like 21 in some states. I don't know if it's still 18. You're not allowed to drive until you're 18. You're not allowed to do a lot of things until you're 18, but somehow a child already knows this life-altering surgery or direction that they're going to take. Really? I think that's where a lot of the pushback came from. Drag time, story hour, all that stuff. When you involve the kids, you went too far.
Attention. But let's go back to that bread video for a second.
It's supposed to say friend or just not use gendered language. It's like a pretty big thing that Disney has done. Nothing was wrong with Fred. I just don't want it anymore. As soon as they apologize, doesn't mean he doesn't feel sad or offended. No. Exactly, right? Like, do you accidentally ever hurt someone and say, I'm so sorry, it was an accident? Do you expect them to be like, oh, it was an accident? Of course. No problem whatsoever. All of that hurt is now undone. That's not how it works.
Sorry about what happened.
It's okay. I would love to pay for the drink, please.
No, the drink is on me too, so...
You don't have to, sure?
You're good, yeah.
Why? This is enabling.
Thank you very much.
Now you can see why Tino does this. Any narcissist would treat waiters like that if they got free food and special treatment from it. You do understand they had to throw all that food out, right? However, I don't know if you guys caught this, but the waiter had an accent, meaning that